Welcome to The Explainer. We're diving into the U.S. housing market today, and we're going to zero in on one really powerful signal. A signal that suggests the market isn't just bent out of shape, it might actually be about to break.
This one sentence, this is the key to everything. You see, it points to two totally different forces. There's the one we all see, right? The one that's all over the headlines. And then there's this other, much more powerful force, kind of hiding just beneath the surface. So let's unpack that.
All right, first up, let's tackle the part of the story we're all familiar with. Mortgage rates. I mean, these are the headline grabbers, right? They're the numbers that dictate our monthly payments and pretty much dominate every conversation about housing.
And look, this isn't just a feeling we all have, it's a stone-cold fact. Seriously, more than any other time since the 70s, it feels like the direction of home prices is hanging on every single move the Fed makes. It's created this market that feels, well, incredibly jumpy and volatile.
Okay, so take a look at this chart and let's zero in on that blue line. For years, the connection between rates and price growth was, kind of messy. It was all over the place. But then, look at what happens on the far right of the chart. All of a sudden, in the 2020s, the floor just drops out. The relationship becomes super negative, and it shows you just how much raw power high rates have right now to drag prices down.
And yeah, that is a huge part of the story, no doubt. But think back to that quote. If these soaring rates are just bending the market, what's the force that could actually break it?
Well, the answer lies in a factor that's honestly often overlooked, but it's way more powerful, and that's inventory. You can think of it as the real structural break on the entire system.
Okay, so to really get this, there's one key metric we've got to talk about: months supply. Now, I know it sounds technical, but it's actually super simple. It just tells us if there's a shortage of homes for sale, which, pushes prices up, or if there's a surplus, which pulls them right back down.
And this chart, wow, it just brilliantly lays out that historical relationship. Just follow the lines with me. The blue line, that's your housing supply. The green one is price growth. Now notice how the big spikes in that blue supply line, like back in the early 90s and again right before 2008, they almost always happen right before a big nosedive in the green price growth line. It's this incredibly powerful inverse relationship, and it's held true for decades.
But here's where it gets even more fascinating. The data shows us it's not just some simple correlation. Nope. There's a very specific tipping point, a kind of line in the sand, where the entire game changes.
And that magic number is 6. Yep, 6 months of supply. For decades, the data says this is the line. Stay below it, and the market behaves one way. But the second you cross it, all the rules get thrown out the window.
Okay, let's really dig into this one, because this chart, this is the whole argument right here. Each of those little X's represents a single quarter in housing history. Now see that dotted orange line running across at the 6-month mark? Look at all the dots below it. They're just scattered everywhere, right? The trend line is basically flat. But now look what happens once you get above 6 months. Whoa! The relationship becomes crystal clear and steeply negative. More supply equals way lower price growth. You can literally see the market split into two completely different realities right on that line.
So here's the absolute key takeaway. The moment inventory crosses that 6-month threshold, it stops being some minor background noise. It becomes the main event. It becomes the primary force that's actively dragging prices down. It's like it takes over and dictates the market's destiny. Okay, so keeping this whole framework in mind, that 6 months is the magic number. The obvious question is, so where are we today?
Well, as of right now, the housing supply is sitting at around 10 months. Remember that magic number, 6? We aren't just a little bit over it. We are deep in the danger zone. In fact, the last time we saw a number this high was right before the 2008 financial crisis.
Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, didn't inventory spike back in 2022 and then come down pretty fast? And that's a great question. It absolutely did. But the argument here is that this time is different. And the reason why is crucial. See, that 2022 inventory spike was just temporary. And the reason is there was this huge wave of pent-up demand from the pandemic lockdowns that was just unleashed, and it soaked up all that extra supply. But today, that demand isn't just waiting on the sidelines anymore. It's completely locked out of the market by mortgage rates hovering around 7%. And that's what makes today's oversupply so much stickier. You've got sluggish home completions, weak building permits. There's just no quick fix on the horizon. This bloated supply isn't going to disappear overnight. It looks much more like a long, high plateau that's just going to weigh on the market for a long time to come. So yeah, this all paints a pretty clear and frankly pretty worrying picture. But it also brings up a much bigger question. Why can we even see this picture so clearly? The very fact that we can sit here and analyze this data, that points to a final, really crucial idea about what makes a market trustworthy in the first place.
It's all about transparency. That is the absolute bedrock of a stable market. It lets everyone, from home buyers to policymakers, make informed decisions, hopefully to avoid the exact kind of crisis this data might be pointing to. But here's the fascinating part. This level of transparency, it's not a given everywhere you look.
And to really see how important this is, you just have to look at a country like Australia. Here you have another major, advanced economy, but this exact same critical data on housing supply, it's just not public. Sometimes the stats apparently just vanish. It's a stark reminder that access to these fundamental economic facts is really a privilege, not a right.
So when you think about it, while the U.S. housing data is flashing a pretty serious warning sign, the fact that we can see that sign is actually a huge strength. It's what allows us to have this conversation. It all comes back to that first idea, right? Inventory is the force that can break a market, but transparent data, that's the force that lets us see the cracks before they turn into a catastrophe. And that leaves us with one last thought. What's really more dangerous? A market that might be about to break, or a market that won't even let you see if it's broken at all?